The most significant development is the wide-scale adoption of drones for all sorts of combat missions, from reconnaissance to strike. We also see, of course, a lot of development regarding electronic warfare, but also digital battlefield command and control. I think here the war in Ukraine stands out because it's a war between industrial nations. It's not a one-sided war where you have one very developed nation fighting against insurgents, but two nations that are fairly well developed, that have industrial resources, that can apply new means at scale, not in small quantity, but at scale. Well, they're trying to grasp it, and they're trying to also use training Ukrainian soldiers to get the idea of what is happening. The problem is things are developing very fast, and also a lot of developments are not finalized, if I may say so. So for example, we saw over the year of 2023 a refinement of tactics, how to use drones to accelerate artillery fire, to provide very rapid anti-tank fire in the defense, and how to tactically integrate them in defensive operations. But both the Russians and Ukrainians struggle to do that on the offense. We saw that in the counteroffensive, and of course we see it daily in Russia's offensive operations. Now, of course, both parties are developing new tactics, actually how to integrate all these new means into the offense. They're tinkering with new tables of organizations, they're tinkering with new systems, and the thing is, nobody has ever done that before. So whatever Ukraine does, it is extremely well studied, because it is a pioneering war in many regards. First of all, before I start to line up things, I want to state people tend to see, well, item X is more important than item Y. The thing is, it needs a lot of stuff, and it needs a lot of stuff in combination. So if I start to downlist them, please don't take that, well, we delivered A, so we don't have to deliver B. Well, the first is, of course, ammunition in large quantities that Ukraine needs. That, of course, applies to artillery, but in a lot of other things, from air defense, tank ammunition, etc. Mines, and specialized anti-tank stuff. Electronic warfare means, deep strike means, starting from towers, cruise missiles, but also jamming resilient precision ammunition for the front line, anti-radiation, anti-jamming devices, so munition that can target emitters on the Russian side, munition that can target air defense systems, that is well needed. And then you need a lot of armored vehicles, infantry fighting vehicles, main battle tanks, armored engineer vehicles, mine-clearing tanks, bridge-laying tanks, all sorts of ground combat vehicles, in a shape, logistically, ammunition-wise, that Ukraine can maintain them. So it's not sufficient to give Ukraine a shiny vehicle, but forget about the spare parts. And then training. As I said, this war is pioneering and revolutionary. At the same time, we have two armies that now predominantly consist of mobilized men. So you have a very demanding battlefield situation with people who had ragtag or very short amount of training, who've been pushed into combat operations because of the urgent need to scale up the military effort. I mean, people say, well, of course it's suboptimal, but if you put yourself in the shoes of Ukrainians and you have a 1,000-kilometer long border with Belarus and another long border with Russia, and then you have a 1,000-kilometer front, what's the alternative? So here we are. But of course, in order to make all these forces that have been rapidly mobilized, rapidly formed, fit to use all the new stuff, to integrate that well, not just to have few specialized teams that can really apply new tactics, but large brigades that as once can conduct offensive operations, we need training. For that, Ukraine needs to, again, mobilize people, because you need to rotate mechanized forces out of the front, replace them with others, train them, and then rotate them in again. Said that, to do that, Ukraine also needs more vehicles. Because yes, it's a question of soldiers, but you cannot, for example, rotate in a territorial defense battalion that has only mortars as artillery and only light weapons, or a lot of light weapons, and no tanks, no armored transport in a heavily engaged line of the front, like Robotyne, Avdiivka, etc., because the sheer amount of artillery fire will command you to use armored transport to get people in and out. You need mobile fire support because you can't position down heavy weapons somewhere that will be struck by drones. So you need a tank, which is a mobile fire support thing. I mean, a tank is a gun on a carriage. So you need to have the equipment to, again, train people, rotate them in, rotate others out, train them, rotate them in. That's the thing. I think in small quantities, in small teams, Ukrainians know exactly what to do and how to do it. The problem Ukrainians have is scale up the effort. Train large formations, the skills that small formations already have. That is the challenge of the day and the challenge for this year, and then maybe in 2025 we will come closer to victory. And I think 2026 we will see the Russian war machine getting into real supply struggles. So if the West has overcome its defense industrial problems by then, we would be in a good position to see a Ukrainian victory. It was a long war and it will be a long war. The problem is a lot of Europeans and Americans in the sea thought that there would be a shortcut. It is a long war starting basically from the loss of the Battle of Kiev, where Russians wanted to attrit the Ukrainian army. From then on, it was a war of attrition. A lot of people in the West didn't realize that. A lot of people in the West didn't plan accordingly. But from then on, it was a war of attrition.